In this video, I'll be teaching you guys how to cut and sew this straight Milkmaid Bustier dress with ruffles on the side. So the first point I'll take is the distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my chest line, which is 8 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my under bust point, which is 13.5 inches. And the next point I'll take is my half length, which is 16 inches. I'm going to roll all these points into a straight line. After doing that, I'm going to take half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches. I'll indicate that. On my chest line, I'll also place the 8 inches that I have on my shoulder line, and then I'll connect the 2 dots into a straight line. The next thing I'll do is to take my neckline measurement. So for the width, I'll be using 3 inches, and for the depth also, I'll be using 3 inches. So I'll connect using my ruler like this. The next thing I'll do is to go down by 1 inch on my armhole area for my shoulder slope, and then I'll slant into the neckline like this. I'll measure the straight line that I have on the armhole area, and then I'll divide it by 2. So I'll mark the middle point. I'll indicate that with a dot. After doing that, on that middle point, I'm going to come in like this by ½ an inch. I'll also indicate that with a dot. On my chest line, I'm going to place my bust circumference divided by 4. I'll also indicate that with a dot. After doing that, I'm going to use my ruler to connect. I will connect from my shoulder slope to meet the ½ an inch that I came in with, and to meet the bust measurement that I took on my chest line like this. The next thing I'm going to do is to take my bust band measurement, which is half of my nipple to nipple measurement. I'm going to place the measurement on my under bust line and on my waistline. After doing that, on my bust point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So I'll place my tape like this, and I'll mark 1 inch down. So I'm going to connect these 3 dots into a straight line. What I'll do next is to take in my dart. So I'm going to take ½ an inch on both sides like this, and I'm going to connect from there to meet my bust point like this. After doing that, the next thing I'll do is to start placing my measurements. So on my chest line, I already have my bust circumference divided by 4. So I'm going to add 1 inch to that measurement. I'm adding just 1 inch because I'm working with a very stretchy fabric. On my waistline, I'm going to place my waist circumference divided by 4. I'll replace my dart, and I'll add 1 inch for stitching allowance, and then I'll connect from the bust point to meet the waistline like this. So guys, the next thing I'll do is to create another chest line. So I'm going to go up from my previous chest line by 1 inch. So I'm going to mark 7 inches, and I'll rule a straight line across. After doing that, I'm going to go ahead and cut. After cutting out, the next thing I'm going to do is to use this pattern paper to cut out the back first before we work on the cup. So before I cut, I'm going to mark ½ an inch, which is going to serve as my stitching allowance on the upper area. and I also have half an inch on my pattern paper also, which is going to serve as the stitching allowance also for the down. So I folded my fabric into two and I just went ahead to trace out what I have on the pattern paper. So I have half an inch stitching allowance on the up, and I also have half an inch stitching allowance on the down, which you can see on the pattern paper, and my fabric is folded into two. So once I open it up, this is what I have. So I did not add a zipper allowance to this because this fabric is very stretchy. So if you are using a fabric that is not stretchy, make sure you add a zipper allowance. So after doing that, I went ahead to indicate my under bust line. I'm going to slash through the under bust line like this, and after cutting, we are going to use the upper part to create our cup. So guys, this part right here is going to serve as our band for the front. The back does not have a band. So if you are using a fabric that is not stretchy, in order to close up the dart, you are going to open one part of the dart like this and you cover it up with the other one. That way you have taken in your dart. But I'm making use of a stretchy fabric, so I'm going to skip this part. I'm just going to gum it back together. So guys, this is the band. So I'm going to indicate the center front because we'll be cutting the center front on fold and the side front, which you are not going to cut on fold. So after doing that, we'll go ahead and work on the cup. So we'll be using this part for the cup. So what I'm going to do is to mark 2 inches apart. So I'm going to place my tape like this. I'll mark 2 inches. From that 2 inches, I'll place my tape again. I'll mark another 2 inches. I'll also place my tape. I'll mark another 2 inches. After doing that, I'm going to rule everything into a straight line like this, and I'm going to number them. So I have number 1, number 2, number 3, 4 and 5. So I'm going to slash through all these numbers just like you see me doing. So guys, the next thing you are going to do is to fold your fabric into two. After folding your fabric, you are going to go down by 2 inches on your fabric just like you see me doing. So this fabric I'm using is very difficult to work with. That is why I'm trying to show you guys what to do with this one before cutting out. So go down by 2 inches because we'll be using these 2 inches to create a channel for our cup. After that, I'm going to start placing my patterns. So I'm going to place right after the 2 inches like this. After doing that, I'm going to spread these patterns apart by 2 inches. So I'm going to mark 2 inches after placing the first pattern, and then I'll place the second one, which is number 2. I'll hold it down with my pin and I'll mark another 2 inches. So I'm spreading everything by 2 inches. So make sure you leave 2 inches on the upper part of your pattern because we are going to fold it to create our channel later. So I'll keep spreading apart. So guys, this is the last one. I'm also going to place it after marking 2 inches. So after doing that, make sure you hold everything down. I'm going to cut out the excess. I'll trim out the armhole area and I'll leave half an inch on the base also because we are going to use the half an inch to join the band and this cup area together. So trim out your armhole. After doing that, this is what I have. Don't forget that your fabric should be on fold. Do not forget that. So once I open it up, this is what I have. You can see that it's very wide. Yeah, so after doing that, the next thing we'll do is to fold in the 2 inches that I said you should leave on the upper part of your cup to create a channel for this cup. And I went ahead to also cut my band. The center front is on fold. I also left half an inch, which I'll be using to join the cup and the band together. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew to create my channel, and this is what I have. So this is why I said you should leave 2 inches on the upper part of this cup. So this channel we are going to pass our elastic band through. So this is my elastic band. The length of this elastic band is 11.5 inches. So I'm going to pass the elastic band through this channel that I've already created. So I'll pass it to the other end and I'll use my pin to hold it down, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine and I'll stitch. After doing that, guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to run a gather stitch on the base of this cup. So guys, I've gone ahead to stitch the elastic band down, and I've also gone ahead to run a gather stitch on the base of this cup. So what I'm going to do is to take one end of the thread and I'm going to pull gently to form my gathers. So I'm done gathering. The next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my band and I'm going to open it up. After opening it up, I'm going to place it on the base of this cup, right sides facing each other, and then I'll go ahead and pin all the way around and I'll go ahead and sew. But before I do that, I'll make sure that I notch the middle point of the band so that I'll place it on the middle point of the cup, and then I'll pin all the way around and I'll go sew on a straight line. So guys, after sewing, this is what I have. So I have attached the band to the cup. This is what the wrong side is looking like. So I've already gone ahead to draft out my basic skirt measurement. In case you don't know how to do that, the link will be in the comment section. So what I'm going to do is to fold the waist area of the skirt into 2 equal halves, and I'm going to notch the middle point. I'm also going to notch the middle point of my front piece and I'm going to place them right sides facing each other. I'm also going to pin them all the way around and I'll go sew on a straight line. So I didn't open this fabric up because the fabric I'm working with is very difficult to work with. So I'm just going to pin and sew. So guys, this is the upper bodice for the back. I've already gone ahead to use my bias tape to pipe the neckline. So for the skirt part, I'm also going to fold it into 2 equal halves. I'll notch it. I'll also notch the middle point of the upper bodice. So this fabric is stretchy, that is why I did not add a zip to it. So if yours is not stretchy, go ahead and add your zip. I'm going to pin them right sides facing each other like this, and I'm going to sew on a straight line. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew the front. So what I'm going to do next is to create the ruffles on the side. So the length of this fabric is 3 yards and the wideness is 14 inches. So I'm going to pleat this fabric on the side of the front piece. So the right side of the front piece is facing me, so I'm going to place this fabric right sides facing each other. So please make sure you conceal all the edges of your fabric. So I'm going to start pinning and I'll start pleating from the beginning to the end of my skirt. And before I forget, the length of this dress is 54 inches. So guys, after pleating, this is what I have. So what I'm going to do is to arrange everything together. I'll place the back on the front like this, right sides facing each other. I'll make sure that my armhole area aligns and the waist area also aligns. After doing that, I'm going to place my measurements. That's my bust measurements, my waist measurements, my hip measurements, and I'm going to shape everything using the 1 inch stitching allowance that I left. So guys, after shaping, I went ahead to turn it inside out, and this is what it's looking like on the outside. So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out my sleeve. So this is the fabric for my sleeve. I'm going to fold it into 2 equal halves. The length of these sleeves is 15 inches and the wideness is 30 inches, so it's 15 inches on fold. So what I'm going to do is to create a channel for my elastic band. So I'm going to fold both the up and the down, and then I'm going to pass my elastic band through. After doing that, I'm just going to go ahead and fix it on this armhole area, and I'll also go ahead and hem the base of this dress. And yeah, that brings us to the end of this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. Please don't forget to like. If you have any question, leave it down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.